One of our favorite things to eat in the winter is potato soup and cornbread. Makes such a tasty meal for sure. I have a little short piece from John Paris that I want to read you, just very small, but it's about potato soup. The countryman rubs his hands and grins. It's a fine day for soup, he says. Of course, I could eat soup every day of the winter. There's nothing better on a cold day, and that's all there is for dinner, except a pone of hot cornbread. But who needs more? There's nothing elegant about the meal. It's eaten right there in the kitchen, close by the fire, right off the linoleum top table. Somehow, soup tastes better served in the kitchen than in the dining room off a linen-covered table. And it doesn't matter much what sort of soup, so long as it's homemade. As excellent as canned soups may be, they can't touch the homemade variety by a country mile. Something is missing. Maybe it's the skill of the hand that occasionally stirs it on a slow fire. Or it could be the essence that creeps in from a kitchen where thousands of meals have been prepared without a word of complaint. Perhaps it's both. My folks, like many others here in the mountains, have always been partial to potato soup. It's been our favorite wintertime dish as long as I can remember. My mother made the best potato soup ever served. She used diced potatoes and rich milk and laced it with fresh ground black pepper. No matter how much she made, there was never any left in the kettle. The same went for her cornbread, which followed the soup to the table in the wink of an eye. She put a toothsome crust on her cornbread that I've never seen equaled. Potato soup and cornbread go together like ham and eggs, hot buttermilk biscuits, and red-eye gravy. So I agree, cornbread and potato soup make a wonderful, wonderful combination. Over the years, I've ate a lot of different potato soups. I've had potato soups made with onions. I've had potato soup and onions mixed with flour, like to thicken it, made with flour. I've had that combination, just potatoes, no onions, with the flour. I've had potato and onions cooked together with cream cheese. That makes a really especially good potato soup. I've had the potatoes and some milk and stuff with the cream cheese with no onions. Lots of different varieties. And you know what? I've never had a potato soup that I didn't like. I just never have. I always enjoyed them. No matter who the cook was making them. Over the years, I found the way that my family likes it and kind of my favorite recipe, and I think that it come out of a Country Living magazine, but it's been so long that I can't really remember, but it's very, very simple. So the recipe is you need 3 large potatoes. Of course, you can use small ones. You can change that to 4 large or 6 large if you've got a bigger family, or if it's just you, maybe 1 large, or you can double up on the small ones. Of course, water and salt and pepper to taste. Any other kind of seasoning I'm sure would be great in it if you have one. You're going to need a half a stick of butter, and you're also going to need a half a cup of sour cream and 1 cup of milk, and that's pretty much my potato soup recipe. Now, I don't put onions in. I don't cook onions in with the potatoes, but I do love to sprinkle onions over the cornbread and over the potato soup. That's where I like my fresh onions to go, right there. But now I'm going to show you how simple this is to put together. So I've got my potatoes and I've covered them with water. I've salted the water. I've put some salt in there, and I'm going to let them cook until tender. Okay, my potatoes are tender, so now I'm going to drain them, and I'm going to reserve the liquid. You want to keep the liquid that they've cooked in. And then I'm going to add the potatoes back to the pan. And I'm going to add the half a stick of butter. Of course, if you use more potatoes, you could increase or decrease the butter and the sour cream to your personal taste. Here's the I'm using a half a cup of sour cream, and I will put the link to the description in the I'll put the link to the recipe in the description below, so you can go check it out. And then I'm going to use a potato masher to just kind of mash up the potatoes. Now you can make them really thin. You could even use like an immersion blender or something and whip them as thin as you want them to be, or as creamy, I guess I should say, not necessarily thin, as creamy as you want them to be. I just kind of give them a good mash or two, and then we like ours kind of chunky, so that's about all I'm going to do. And then I'm going to add 1 cup of milk. So I have that. So then with the reserved liquid, once this cooks for a little bit and kind of the sour cream and the butter melts and the sour cream kind of incorporates, you might find that you need to make it a little thinner if you like thinner soup. I like more thin, brothy soup. So that extra reserved liquid, you can keep that in case you need to pour a little bit in along the way, just to get it to the consistency that you like. And pretty much the soup's done now. I usually let it cook just a few more minutes to see if I need to add some water, and of course to make sure the butter's melted. But that's how easy my potato soup is. Now that it's been cooking just a few minutes, I am going to add a little bit more liquid from what we reserved. And then I'm going to call it done. The cornbread's almost ready, so we're just about ready to eat supper. It's going to be so good. Age-old question, do you put your cornbread first or your soup first? Obviously, Matt must put his soup first.
Mm-hmm. Just like so. Lots of pepper.
Lots of pepper for Matt. I chopped up some onions to put on it. That and a glass of milk is pretty much a feast. So when it comes to making my bowl, I do mine different than Matt. I'm the one, I crumble first, so I'm going to crumble my cornbread in my bowl first, and then I'm going to put my soup on top of it. Another thing that would be really good on this, besides the onions, a lot of people on potato soup love to fry bacon and then crumble it up. That's good, I'm sure. We're just kind of simple. We just go for the onions. Also putting cheese on top of it would be good, I'm sure. But for me, just the onions, and the cornbread, and the soup, and a glass of milk is, like John Paris said, it's just really hard to beat. What else would you need, right? So I hope you enjoyed seeing how I make potato soup. And like I said, there's so many recipes out there. I would love to hear about yours. So please leave me a comment and tell me if you're a fan of potato soup, how you make it. And as always, I hope you'll continue to drop back by often and help me celebrate Appalachia.